It's truly an honor to have both these gentlemen here with us today.
Hi, Vivian.
Hi, Hua.
Hello.
And this is Kartik. Hua is a creative practitioner for over 30 years. He is one of the most awarded and most celebrated creative talent in Malaysia with over 1,000 awards, local, regional, and international to his name. He used to be the Deputy Chairman and Executive Creative Director of McCann World Group, and he later on started his own creative agency, Merdeka LHS, which is bought over by Dentsu. His competence lies in helping businesses and brands to express themselves creatively so that they may win in the marketplace. Thank you, Hua, for being here with us. A big welcome to you.
Yeah.
And we have Kartik here with us as well, the Chairman of Global Entrepreneur Exchange. Kartik is an expert and a teacher of innovation. He has personally mentored billionaires, governments, regulators, and over 1,000 CEOs and entrepreneurs. He consulted global brands, regional businesses, and local SMEs, and he has written books on innovation and strategy as well. Thank you so much, Kartik, for being here with us. We are really excited to kickstart this session. I'm going to start off with a basic question. In your opinion, what is the source of creativity?
Okay, I personally think not just the source of creativity, but the source of all ideas pretty much happens and emerges when you make a leap from the known to the unknown. Okay, see, the known is the world that we live in, and the known is a world full of recycled thinking, ideas, knowledge, learnings. So when you sit in the known, you never really can create an original idea, because you're only going to create something that's rehashed or recycled. Now, if you look at it a little deeper, you want to ask this question: when are you most creative? You will almost always find the response to this question when I'm in the shower, when I'm taking a walk,
Yes.
right? Or when I'm having a glass of wine, or when I'm just about doing nothing, goofing around, walking in a garden, just looking aimlessly at the trees and so on, right? Now, so that's really when the mind actually stops, right? And you move from the mind to what I call the no mind, okay? So that's really where creativity emerges, and in fact that's the only place where you can be creative, which is the unknown. And when you have the capacity and the courage to make the leap. In fact, I started to realize this in a very, very different way when I started doing yoga. I was not only practicing yoga, I was also studying yoga. And I know this is rather strange. What's yoga got to do with creativity and innovation, right? Yoga looks at the mind in a rather unique and scientific way. Yoga identifies 4 aspects of the mind. If you look at the Western perspective, the mind is rather ambiguous. They actually do not very clearly define what the mind is. Yoga looks at 4 aspects of the mind. The first aspect of the mind is what they call manas. What is manas? Manas is the storehouse of memory. It's just memory and information. Okay. There's a second part of the brain, or the mind rather, which is buddhi. Buddhi is the capacity to analyze. It's that part of the mind that you call the intellect. It is the capacity to segment, to classify, and to make sense of the world. Okay? And there's a third part of the mind, aspect of the mind rather. It's called ahamkara. Ahamkara is the identity. What do you mean by identity? You could also call it ego, if you may. Right? Identity is I am Kartik. See, it's an identity. If I say I'm an Indian, that's an identity. And your identity is really what ultimately directs your memory, which comes from manas, and even your analysis. right, of information. Now, there is a fourth part of the mind. That's really what I wanted to talk about, really. The fourth part of the mind is called chitta. Now, this is where the magic happens. Chitta is that part of the mind where you're simply not affected by memory. You're not even affected by the future. You're not affected by information. It's like pure glass. Okay? It's like crystal water, which pretty much reflects anything and everything. And this chitta is really the source of all creativity. It's the source of all ideas. It is the foundation of all potential. So chitta can even be called the no mind, right? Because it's not about information or identity or memory, right? Which is why when you meditate, you get extraordinary ideas with great clarity in stillness. Why? Because you have a momentary glimpse of chitta. And chitta can also be called the unconditioned mind. Okay? So, where does creativity come from? One phrase, the unconditioned mind.
For me, I think my answer is a little bit more simplistic. Where does it come from? I think it comes from your environment and your upbringing. If you're naturally in a family that's musically inclined, well, chances are the children will come up musically inclined, right?
Yeah.
So for me, it's about the environment that you thrive in, you are encouraged to live in, the sounds, the smells, the magic that happens in your home. That's where the source of creativity comes from. In my case, I grew up with, paintbrushes and, ink and pens, automotive tools, and lots of free time. So that's where I combine all of these things, and I suppose that's where my creativity kind of comes from. It's a little mix of a little bit of this and a little bit of my parents and a little bit of my environment, But I do need a little bit more of that chitta that we were talking about.